First of all, let me say how honored I am to have received the invitation to speak to all of you today. I mentioned yesterday in one of the meetings that we held that in this area that we're talking about of how to recover and reconstruct following a major natural disaster, particularly an earthquake, that there really aren't any experts. We kind of learn by doing, that we all have experiences, those of us who have been in positions where we've tried to work our way through the many challenges that are faced. And so I'm not going to even talk about lessons learned. I'm simply going to talk about what my personal experiences were and what the experiences were of the state of California as we worked and, in fact, are continuing to work to recover from the earthquake that occurred in 1994. I had the opportunity to visit Chile on March 11th, arrived on March 11th, was here for 10 days, was able to tour many of the areas that were impacted by the earthquake and tsunami. And I first of all want to say how tremendously impressed I have been, and many of my colleagues in the United States, in the earth sciences community, in the structural engineering community, in the public policy community, with the way in which both the individuals, the citizens of Chile, and the institutions of Chile have responded to the events of 27 February. We have a phrase in English that is, no news is good news. Now that's not always true. When a disaster occurs, when you don't receive news from an area, that's usually a sign that things are very, very bad and they can't even tell you how bad it is. But in general, we say no news is good news. And as I have talked to my colleagues in the United States and some of my colleagues with the World Bank who come from around the world and who have worked on disasters in Turkey and India, in the Banda Aceh earthquake in Indonesia, in Pakistan, in Algeria, in Romania, they all have been struck by the low fatality total, the way in which the institutions and the citizens have responded, and how quickly the story vanished from American newspapers. Now, there are still stories about individuals, about individual heroism, about the losses that individuals have suffered, but the conclusion, I think, that points to the success of what you have done to date is that this is no longer something that the press is eager to find fault with. Now, if you contrast that to the coverage that we received in the United States following Hurricane Katrina, where the failures of our system were very, very evident, not only to our own citizens, but to the whole world, and that in some ways our institutions are still struggling with the aftermath of the failures of 2005. And again, you contrast that to what has happened in the days since 27 February here in Chile. I think it's something that really should be a source of national pride to each of you as individuals and to the institutions of Chile. There are, of course, controversies. There are questions being asked about who did what, when, and why, or who didn't do what, when, and what changes should be made. And those questions will certainly continue to be asked and will be answered. But again, I think that the nation of Chile needs to take enormous pride in the way in which you've managed to date the 5th largest earthquake ever to occur in recorded history.